Be good.
Just 1 second, Peter. Let me just give you the presentation
Perfect.
access.
Right.
There we
Okay.
go.
Okay. There we go. And now I can share. And hopefully.
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay then. Right. I just need to put it into. There we go. Are we good? Full size, hopefully.
Yes.
All right, perfect. Right. Thank you very much. Thank you for that introduction. I appreciate it. And right. So how did this come about? I mean, it came about because of the situation that we are all in right now, which is unprecedented in our experience. And I was trying to think of what can I do? What can I do to help, to contribute? I mean, there seems to be a lot out there about, I've obviously worked in a very virtual way a lot of my life. And so could I share something along those lines? But I think a lot of people seem to be already sharing that kind of stuff. And then I thought, well, one of the things I've always been involved in, always try to involve in the work I do, is to bring a degree of fun and enjoyment. And I was seeing a lot of messages from project managers who were suddenly without projects, and some of them suddenly without jobs. And so I thought this was as good a time as ever to try and bring a smile to a few faces out there. And so I have freely offered to share this book, The Project Manager Who Smiled, with the world. So we will talk a little bit more about the book as we go through this. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate you attending this session, and hopefully it's going to be useful to you. That's my intention, obviously. So let's begin. Why did the project manager cross the road? Well, to get to the critical path, of course. Okay, the jokes might get a little bit better than that, but there is a lot of humor out there. As the introduction said, I am the lazy project manager. I wrote the book some just over 10 years ago. I was very fortunate in being allowed to write the book that I wanted to write by my publishers, and as a result of that, it has been a huge success. It has been an Amazon #1 bestseller. It has sold many, many thousands of copies. It is in the second edition right now, and I'm very grateful for that. And part of the popularity of the book was the inclusion of, apart from honesty, a lot of fun, a lot of, a lot of different things. I mean, in the book, if you have not read it, it includes things like dinosaurs, Monty Python, field marshals from the Prussian army, Italian economists, and the Jungle Book. So a very different project management book, but with a heart of some strong messages. So, but today I'm not going to be the lazy project manager. Today I'm going to be the lazy, hopefully funny project manager. So I appreciate your time, and I hope that you get, as I said, some value from this and some tips from the presentation, but also hopefully from the book that you're going to get afterwards. As was said, someone did give me this wonderful quote, and I love it. I don't know who gave it to me. It was an anonymous comment after a conference I did, and I always tease that this was not actually a quote from my mother, absolutely not, and that isn't a picture of my mother at all. That's just a random old lady who's looking shocked, because who can I say that? How can I say that this is what I am? But what I do know is I have delivered 380 presentations over the last 10 years. I have spoken in 25 different countries. And obviously that has all come to an almost immediate standstill as far as physical events are concerned. I was due to go to a number of places in the next 3 months, and pretty much all of those have been cancelled already. And the ones that haven't been cancelled, I expect them to be cancelled very shortly. So we are moving rapidly to a virtual and remote world. And so linked to the offer to give the book away, that was hugely popular. I put the LinkedIn post out there, and the post had 25,000 views. Last time I looked at it, it was still climbing. I have given away, personally, I've given away around 800 copies of the book, but I've also passed it out to communities as well, as I am doing today. So my rough estimate is at this point in time, probably 5,000 copies of the book have been given away. And in each and every case, I would ask you to, once you've read it and you're happy, and you like it and enjoy it, and you would think it's valuable to other people, to share it with absolutely everybody that you think would gain some value from it. There is no limits on this at all. It's a PDF and it's freely shareable. Okay, at work. A good laugh not only reduces tension and relieves stress, but it also helps to increase team bonding and boost morale. This is a quote from Andrew Filev. He's the founder of Reich, one of the project technology developers and suppliers. But he's right. You know, I saw Andrew at a conference, and we were talking about Project Fun, and actually he was a supporter of this book coming about in the first place, because it's true. My general nature is to try and have fun. If I get too serious, probably for more than an hour, I get quite grumpy, and that's not good. And so I have to have a degree of humor. It has to be appropriate. And I'll say this several times. The humor has to be appropriate, given the time, given the audience, given the situation. But it's amazing, even a light level of humor can certainly bond a team, can build a team's confidence and capability and the way they work together. And it absolutely can boost morale as well. This is a quote from a guy called Alexandre Chiaro. He works for, well, he is a company called Woohoo Inc. And he talks a lot about happiness and all that. And his comment, which I liked as well, which is, this view of putting fun, enjoyment into work is not soft, idealistic, naive, hippie thinking. It's not soft and woolly rubbish. It's not something you shouldn't think about, no matter how, no matter how structured you are in your working, no matter how formalized your organization is, you can bring in elements of such fun, such enjoyment into your work. And I agree with that as well from Alexander. An example, just to kick this off, this is Dr. Seuss. This is the Cat in the Hat. And there's an example here. So in America, way back some time now, obviously back in the last century, but the children in America, when they went through their schooling, they had what became quite famous, the Dick and Jane reading primers. So these were books that children had to read to try and learn to read, obviously, within their schools. And it's is embedded in the education system in America. And at the end of the day, Dr. Seuss realized that these books were fundamentally boring. I mean, there was nothing to engage or capture the children's interest whilst they were reading the books. And so he wrote The Cat in the Hat, which is strange nonsense if you've ever read any of the books. But the result of this was that the children were being given these books, were engaged. The children were having fun. They were interested. They were learning as a result. They were just enjoying themselves without realizing they were learning. This is one of the things I do in the kind of workshops I deliver. I like to bring a huge amount of gaming into them. There's one I do now, which is from lazy to agile, and it is made up of 4 exercises and 3 fun activities and 2 sort of humorous presentations and 1 hard piece of learning in the middle of it. But the fact that this structure within the workshop is people don't realize that they are learning as we go through all of the exercises and all the fun activities. But there are strong learning messages behind that. An example of this is a book that was mentioned earlier on. It's The Lazy Project Manager and the Project from Hell. This is a book. You can buy the book and you can run the exercise, the workshop yourself. All of the instructions are in the book. That's what the book is about. And I've run it also for many, many organizations myself. The idea is it's the worst project you could possibly come across. It's a project that I was actually involved in trying to rescue. I wasn't responsible for making it terrible, but I was put in charge of trying to recover it. And the element of fun in this is that you work in teams. You're given this project situation. You see it go from the start of the project to the point of failure. And then you give the teams something that all project managers would love to have, which is a time machine. And they have to use the time machine once, and they have to go back and make changes to the project. And as a result of that, if they, based on the changes they make, it's a cause and effect of an experience. Then they try and turn the project around and turn the project from hell into the project from heaven. And people love it. Every time I've run it, it's been great fun. People really get carried away with it. It's time pressured. It's like a real project. They have to do a presentation at the end. They have to choose team names, and we have an awful lot of fun. But behind it is a lot of learning experience about the fundamental foundations of good project management practice. And it's a great way of working with project teams when they first start. It's working with new project managers or working with existing project management teams to sort of look at the experience and the way that different team members work with each other. So gamification and fun truly, truly do work. Victor Borge said the shortest distance between two people is laughter. And you know, I'm going to speak right now about this because we're in lockdown in the UK, as I know you guys are as well, but there's still community stuff going on out there. I mean, I was standing at the end of my driveway yesterday. I was talking to my neighbor across the road. Obviously, we're practicing, you know, social distancing and being very, very careful in what we do. But you can see people become more sociable. There is humor. There is laughter. When anything dark happens, humor actually draws itself to the fore. Quite recently, I was flying back from Switzerland, and the plane that brought me into London Heathrow, we were put into an emergency landing protocol, which is something I've never experienced before, which means that everything was cleared out of our way. We were landing because there was some sort of chemical leakage on the plane. And when we landed, we were taken into a safe area. We were all checked over, etc. At the end of it, everything was fine. Nobody was hurt, etc. But the first thing that happened when people realized what was going on was humor. Dark humor started to come out, but people started talking to each other, becalming each other with this kind of humorous content. So have fun. Have fun. Success will follow. If you aren't having fun, you're doing something wrong. That's what Richard Branson said. His motto is very much is to enjoy yourself whilst you are working. Why should you do this? Well, this is the wisdom of fun. There is medically, you know, people often say this, that you know it's harder work to smile than it is to look miserable, but that's not actually true. Medically, it's not true. It takes more effort to look miserable than it does to actually smile slightly. But the point about it is, it's not different. You know, to put a smile on is very well worth it. I mean, this is a character, Walter, on the right hand side here. Is a miserable puppet from a comedian called Jeff Dunham, ventriloquist, and he's never happy. But that's not our world, is it? We're not permanently unhappy, but we could probably be a little bit more happy more often, I feel. And so medically, there's no reason why you shouldn't smile. In fact, medically or physically, it's easier to smile than it is to look miserable. And secondly, there's this, gives you the bounce back factor. There is this attitude that if you are happy, if you're predominantly of a characteristic of being happy, even when you're hit by problems, and that's the nature of projects, isn't it? The nature of projects is we have challenges, we have difficulties, we have hard days, we have tough decisions, we have to have difficult conversations with people sometimes. But the point about it is when you are of a general optimistic and happy nature, you bounce back from these things much faster than if you have a very negative attitude. You don't get ground down by this whole thing. So it gives you the bounce back factor, I think, is the case as well. And it also helps work better with your teammates, with your colleagues. The studies show that happy people are more likely to help other people. That's the first part of the equation. If you're a positive, happy person, an optimist, you're actually more likely to actually help someone than otherwise. And happy people are definitely more likely to help other happy people as well. There's a correlation between these two things. We're naturally drawn to happy people. It makes you popular. It's infectious in a good way. I'll be clear of that one right now. It's infectious in a good way to others. There's an exercise you can do. You might want to try and do this with your project team members at some point. Is, you know, if you get people together, you put them in pairs, and you get one person to smile and watch the second person. The second person will stimulate or emulate that. They will have empathy for it, and they will smile back. So a smile draws a smile from someone else. If you look miserable, if the first member of the two people that looks miserable, then the second person will also respond with a sad face as well. And finally, if you get, the difficult thing is, this is where you get to laughs, etc., is you make the first person in the pair to look miserable, and the other person has to try and smile, or vice versa. It's very difficult. If someone's frowning, it's difficult to smile. If someone's smiling, it's difficult to frown in response. This is just the human nature. It's just what we're made up of. It's an example of about the fact that happy, positive people live longer. there was a study done of nuns. Well, actually, it was people who were entering a convent prior to taking the full commitment of a nun. They were novices. And what they did for the novices coming in, but they asked them to write a short biography of themselves. And this study, which obviously ran for many years, this study identified that when they went back to the same people at the age of 85, those that wrote a cheerful biography, 90% of them were still alive. So if they have a positive outlook on life when they were young novices about to become nuns, they had a 90% likelihood of being alive at age 85. Whereas those that had a less cheerful bio, only 54% of them were alive at 85. I mean, and this was supported by other research as well, but the view is that actually happy people generally live longer. So happiness is a very good thing from that point of view. So I think you've got to smile. There's another universal truth, and again, is this thing that it is the fact in a Swedish study in 2002 they did this exercise I just talked about, the facial response, and they ran it across a large group of people, and they identified that it is, if you go out there, and not obviously these days physically going out is very challenging, but if you go online next time you have a virtual meeting with your colleagues or your teams, etc., if you project a positive smiling image, you will receive one back. You will receive what you give. If you go online looking sad and miserable, that's what the response you're going to get. So this facial recognition, this facial response thing is very, very real. There are some really bad jokes in project management. I have included some of these in the book. It's like the groanometer test. You know, when I do this live, you know, I can hear the audience groaning when I put these jokes up, but let's just try a few for now. The nicest thing about not planning is that failure comes as a complete surprise and is not preceded by a period of worry and depression. This is a very old project management joke. I'm sure you've heard that one and probably gets a big groan. A risk is something nasty you smell, and an issue is something nasty you stand in. I actually use this one in my training courses when we're trying to explain risk to people. People somehow manage to get this one. It's quite interesting. It takes one woman 9 months to have a baby. It cannot be done in 1 month by impregnating 9 women, obviously, etc. You can't crash the schedule that way. Any project can be estimated accurately once it's completed. This is also very true. Nothing is impossible for the person who doesn't have to do it. There's some dark humor behind that one. And change is inevitable except from a vending machine. This joke is eventually going to go out of date as we have vending machines that only accept cards, etc., and we no longer use cash, obviously. Now, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there, of course. Those sort of jokes were one of the reasons I wrote the book, The Project Manager Smile, because I thought there's got to be better humor out there. There's got to be better humor, and I did reach out to people. So the book is made up of a number of things, but it's also made up of some experiences that I have. I'm going to just share 3 of those with you right now. So I'm hoping you guys know that there is a Project Management Day, International Project Management Day. It's in November. I think it's the first Thursday in November. It's a day to celebrate everything to do with project management. And I hope, I see more and more people celebrate that day or something around that day every year. That's fantastic, but it's not the best day of the year for project managers. There is a day in September which is called Speak Like a Pirate Day. So I came across this quite a while ago now, and I don't know, everybody seems to love pirates, and this is good fun. You know, it's a sense that people like pirates, and that's, you know, this was actually even before the sort of Pirates of the Caribbean series of films. But I discovered this Speak Like a Pirate Day, and I thought this could be good fun. And at that point, I was running a PMO for a large organization, and the PMO had at that point, I think, over 100 project managers in place around the whole of Europe. Across 17 countries. And as a result of that, I thought, well, this is one of the challenges I have, is that the fact that these project managers are all remotely connected to the PMO. We never ever physically got them all in one place. So we need to do something to connect with them. So actually the first thing we did was we started, obviously, community sessions, calls, we started newsletters, we had a distribution list, etc. But one of the first fun things we did was we started a thing called It's Friday. Now, on Friday, it was encouraged that after a good week of work that people could share all the humorous things that have gone on, all the funny things that happened in the week, to share the Dilbert cartoons, to share the YouTube videos, the jokes, etc. And of course, and I will say this several times, appropriate, suitable, sensitive to everything possible out there, sensitive to the cultures you're working with and so forth, making it very inclusive. But on a Friday, this worked. I mean, gradually people started to share their jokes, their humor, their stories on a Friday. And it was great because it didn't always come from the same people. Different people were contributing each Friday. Now, I have to admit, it is quite possible that on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, they carried on having a lot of fun amongst themselves and just didn't copy me on the emails. But on a Friday, it was actively encouraged. It was called It's Friday, and we had a lot of fun with that. And why did we have a lot of fun? Because it was fun. We were sharing humor, but actually it also allowed us to connect with each other. We began to learn about each other a little bit more. We made contact, connections, etc. People, project managers was talking to other project managers who they probably wouldn't do in their normal day-to-day working life. They might talk to the people in their own local office, but now they were talking to people across countries. Germany was talking to Sweden. Sweden was talking to the UK. UK was talking to Italy, and so forth. But the thing I really liked out of this was when I discovered Speak Like a Pirate Day. Now, Speak Like a Pirate Day is to celebrate all things pirate. And, what you can do is you can actually go online and you can find pirate translators in many languages now, actually. There was only a couple when I first started, but there are many languages. And in this particular year, I just worked with my core PMO team. We were based in just 2 countries, and we shared things. We started speaking like a pirate for a day, and we just had a lot of fun. It was kind of odd, but it engaged us. We just enjoyed ourselves that day. So the following year, I thought, this is so good. And what I did the following year was I got every project manager an eye patch and an inflatable parrot and sent it to them. And I encouraged everybody to join in and celebrate Speak Like a Pirate Day. And we had a lot of fun. Not everybody joined in, but most people joined in some way. And emails were going around in pirate language. I mean, I'm sure you've seen Johnny Depp in the Pirates of the Caribbean. It was a lot of yars and things like that. But we were doing real work. We're doing real work because that's what we had to do. One tip on this one, though, is the fact that you make sure that everybody is inclusive. Everybody is in on the joke, because one of the German project managers was having a particular problem, and we've been having an email exchange. Emails grow in their length, obviously, and we've been using a German pirate translator that turns normal German language into pirate German language, which is a very strange thing to see. But we were doing, and eventually he decided he wanted to get his manager's view on something, so he forwarded the email on without thinking. And his manager looked at this email of this very strange German pirate language that it was in, and wanted to know what on earth was going on. So, a tip we learned was make sure that everybody is in on the humor, in on the joke that's going on, for sure. And then the other story I'm going to share with you is something that really resonated with me is just how powerful fun can be. So I was working on a project, and the project was going terribly wrong. I have to be very honest here. It's the worst project I've ever worked on. We'd reached a point where no progress was being made by anybody at all. It was frustrating, it was difficult, and actually all we were doing was burning resources, burning time, wasting money, and not making any real progress. And everybody was kind of hating everybody else. There's a lot of finger pointing about what the cause of the problems were. I tried many things, of course, but I was making no real progress. And in the end, I decided we need to kind of create a kind of free environment to re-look at this, to objectively review it. So I took the core team of my project to a local hotel. We booked a meeting room, and in the morning I brought in a facilitator to help us look at this again. And this facilitator was pretty good, and we kind of blue sky thought, we brainstormed, we did lots of exercises, and we kind of had a good morning. But the facilitator left at lunchtime, and actually at lunchtime everybody still hated everybody else and still blamed everybody else, and I had to go back into a room with these people and do something. And I really had I was literally eating my lunch and thinking, I have no idea what I'm going to do. And we went back into the room, and in a moment of desperation or inspiration, depends which way you look at it, when everybody was sitting down in the room, I just stood there and said, right, I said, I'm going to solve every problem on this project right now. And all these people looked at me expectantly. And I walked out the door, and I closed the door. And from the other side of the door, in a very loud voice, I pretended to be myself, me, getting fired by my manager. I gave it a minute, and then I walked back in the room, and some people, as I said, most people got the joke. They kind of saw what I was doing. Some people, I'll be honest, looked disappointed I was still employed, but most people got the joke. And it was just enough. It was just enough to break the tension in the room. Crazy, desperate humor, but it broke if you almost the momentum of difficulty that we were encountering. And we did turn the project around. I'm not kidding you. We delivered it quite late. We delivered way below scope. We delivered way over budget. But the project didn't fail completely. And I definitely see that injection of fun and humor at that point as the moment that this project turned around. So don't ever underestimate the power of humor, the power of fun. So the book itself, it will be sent through to you, as said, after this webinar. It's a PDF format. The book it's a mixture. I mean, what I've got, the way I did this, I've got a lot of jokes in there that I found on the internet or have people told to me. I went out there and I got people to contribute stories, humorous things that happened to them during their working life. I got a number of what I call project management celebrity gossip, some quite well-known names in project management to give me some fun stories about how they've seen humor working. I include in there something I ran on LinkedIn, which was the project manager's theme tune, which is kind of fun as well. And there are a couple of really good case studies of organizations that have applied fun through their PMO and what value they've seen from that. So I truly hope that you do gain some value from this. I would ask three things of you, if I may. I would ask that you enjoy the book. Well, I hope that you enjoy the book. I can't ask you to do that, but I hope you enjoy the book. I would offer you the opportunity to share the book, and I do not care how many people you share it with. You can share it with just one person. You can share it with 1,000 people if you've got that number of connections. I just want to push this out there. There is no limits to this. I want to share with people, share as many people as possible. And one of the reasons I'm doing this kind of webinar is kind of the next stage. I'm using this as a platform. I'm doing it for a number of PMI chapters around the world. Again, just to share the message, share the story. And the last thing I'd ask is that, if you feel that you're happy to do this, then connect to me on LinkedIn. That would be really appreciated. I love LinkedIn. It is my community of project managers out there. We share stuff, we engage, we communicate, and that would be amazing if that could happen as well. So I hope that you do, as I said, find value in the book. There was just a gap I felt in the world when I wrote the book, that nobody was talking about this. People were talking about the very serious side of project business, and I had seen personally the value of aligning or supporting that seriousness with some fun. And there's nothing wrong with all the books that are out there that are quite serious. There's some great books out there, but as I said, this book is packed with ideas and jokes. It's got inspirational thoughts and quotes, suggestions, maxims, anecdotes, and all manner of good material, I think. and I want you to steal it. I want you to use it in your own projects, and that's the reason I wrote the book. And at this very difficult time, that's the reason I'm sharing the book so freely with everybody. Just to wrap this up, and I will be happy to take a few questions as well. Yeah, I am the Lazy Project Manager. That's what I'm known at. You can find information about me at thelazyprojectmanager.com. I also have to mention that the PM Tribe. The PM Tribe launches on the 1st of April. It's a virtual community of project managers. We're trying to engage people. It's a very opportune time that this is the case. So I would, yeah, go and check out the www.thepmtribe.com and have a look at that. I think it would be interesting for you. And my most recent book, you can see on the screen there, is myself and a lady called Susie Palmer-True, who's a very up-and-coming project manager, full of enthusiasm, full of power, full of energy for change. And we wrote this book, which is very, very tongue-in-cheek, if you like. Project management, it's all bollocks. But we looked at project management and we're trying to find the essence of what is true project management. So we're not having a go at project management. We're not challenging project management. I am a project manager. I have been all of my working life. But sometimes it gets a little bit complicated. Sometimes it gets a little bit complex. And in this book, what we try to do is just get back to the basics of what is at the heart of project management and what is at the heart of what a good project manager does. So I am happy to stop talking at that point, and happy to take some questions if there are questions.
Hi, Peter. Thanks for that.
Okay.
It's me back again. Okay, I have some questions from our members here.
Perfect.
Let me read them out for you. Okay, the first question is from Sundaram. I have fun with my team members, but not liked by my immediate manager. How do you handle this?
Yeah, and this is the key, isn't it? You have to understand the other person, and I think you don't go in hard. I learned that the hard way. in the early days. I tried a bit of humor as I moved, as I was working my way up the organization, talking to more senior people, and it backfired. You have to be very careful. It's almost like you have to invite them to offer the humor in the first place. But I think you can possibly do it in two ways. I think you can talk about the way you bring fun into your own project teams. So you're not directly using humor with your manager, but you're talking about the value of humor that you use with your project team. And hopefully that might resonate with them, and hopefully that might connect with them. Otherwise, I think, you can share a very soft level of humor with them. Again, if something, humorous has happened on the project, something that would give a smile during the day, perhaps, you can use that rather than trying to engage them directly in humor, or rather than trying to, make a joke or something like that might not work. So just trying to bring that kind of almost showcase the value of fun in your own world, and see if they connect with it. And if they connect with it, then you can gradually bring some more humor into your conversations, and but gently, definitely.
Nice one. Okay, so I have another question from Vaidishwa. Hi, Peter, great session. Would you like to share an instance on how you responded to sarcasm with a smile or joke?
Yes. If people are sarcastic, it's difficult. I'm not sure I can immediately give a kind of an example of that. I have a lot of children, which means they've all been teenagers at some point, and teenagers are the most skilled in the world at sarcasm. But I don't know. I'm not sure I can draw out one straight away. I'm sorry on that one. I mean, if people are sarcastic, all you can do is try and respond to them in a positive way that doesn't challenge the sarcasm, etc. If they're sarcastic about something, we'll show them that their sarcasm was wrong. It's a difficult one. Sorry, I can't give a much better answer to that one, I'm afraid.
So this is one instance where you don't want to meet sword at sword, so you have to find a different approach.
That is the case. Yeah, don't be sarcastic back. Take the sarcasm and demonstrate it back with the counter, if you like, which is a very positive thing.
Sure. Okay, I have another question. Ramanathan, there is a notion even today that only if you are serious, then you are running the project in the right mode. Have you seen this trend changing around the world, or do you feel it is still in the same concept?
So I would say I think it does depend on the organization. It tends to depend on the culture. I can't, there are certain countries are far more open to this kind of relaxed, not crazy fun, but enjoyable working experience. And there are still organizations and countries that are far more rigorous and disciplined. Yeah, I mean, I've seen, I've worked in some banks that just, it's very dry, it's very difficult. They will do nothing but look serious, and you have to customize your presentations, and you have to customize your workshops of coaching and consulting that I do in the way to suit that. I don't want to challenge it. The Lazy Project Manager is a great example. Lazy Project Manager has been a huge hit around the world, except for most of the Asian countries who cannot get past the humor of it, which is not, I'm not talking about being lazy, I'm talking about being productive. But this tag of lazy just won't go down, doesn't go down well. So yes, I still see it. And everything you do, you have to respect the organization and the culture that you're working with and apply it. It doesn't mean that you can't still have fun. It doesn't mean you can't engage with your team members and have fun, but just be, again, sensitive to the organizational and cultural surroundings.
Okay, Peter, you're incredibly popular. I can see a few more questions pop up.
Fine, we can keep going to the end of the hour. I don't mind.
Okay, great.
I have nothing else to do.
Well, same here. Right. Okay. I have a question from Krishnan. When a team is assembled from different business units and they have different managers, they're not motivated as they have difficult relationship with them. How do you motivate them as project manager?
Yeah, it's a great one. The example I always use, particularly when these days of virtual projects, when you've got someone working on your project, and you've never met them, they're in New Zealand or somewhere, and you want them to do something. Well, if their manager is just down the corridor from where they sit, I mean, who do you think they're going to respond to first if the manager wants something? And this is part of, regardless of distance, this is something that you have to overcome quite quickly at the start of a project. You have to make everybody feel part of the project. You have to get them to buy into the vision of purpose. What is this project about? And they have to connect with their allegiance to your project. So, that's almost the first task of a project manager, apart from the mechanics of what you need to do to set a project up. You've got to get the team. In fact, it's one of the reasons that the Project from Hell was written. It's such a great exercise to engage people, and you can run it physically, or you can run it virtually as well. And it allows people to connect with each other, learn more about each other in a fun environment. And you need that, because it's so easy for people to just not take your project as seriously as other stuff they have to do. So you've got to get that buy-in, you've got to get that connection, you've got to get that commitment, and you've got to make them feel part of the team and that their contribution is truly valued, and you've got to do it very quickly.
Okay, great. Right, next one. I'm going to be a bit quick because I've got a few more to go. From Suresh. Hi, Peter. Great session. What is your view on happiness quotient? How do you sustain to improve them, especially in a matrix organization where priorities differ?
Yeah, I think, it's just a matter of creating that little bubble of happiness, I think, and then getting your team to do the same. And it just moves out through an organization, and it will find its natural parameters where there is some resistance. And we talked about, maybe certain management members don't want to have that sort of level of fun. But I think, it's this, if you smile, others will smile with you. You just keep doing that. You just have this positive, even on the dark days, have this kind of positive attitude. And one of the guys I used to work with, I always admired him, because even though, regardless of whatever was going on, and he has some really tough projects, whatever was going on, his first hour in the office was always just going around saying hi to people, being nice to people, spreading smiles, offering, cakes, biscuits, coffees, whatever it may be. And he made a point of it. He would always do that, even if the next thing he was going to was a very hard, tough stakeholder meeting, tough steering meeting, whatever it may be. He would invest his time in people at the start. So just take that on board and keep doing it.
Thank you. Okay, from Swetha. With COVID-19, almost all of us are working from home. So how do you think we make the team engaged and not stressed out with virtual connects?
I think you kind of make them fun. One of the things I've just loved, so my partner here, Juliet, I mean, she's just with her organization and team, they are creating virtual afternoon tea parties. They're doing all the working stuff. They're having the virtual meetings. They're connecting with people as they normally would, but they're injecting some stuff. They're trying to emulate, if you like, what goes on at lunchtime, what goes on by the water cooler, what goes on after work in the kind of social aspects of it. So by, I think, weaving some of these things in, it makes people think, oh, it's not just about work. Because I think the danger right now is there are so many great tips and techniques on how to work virtually. I won't go into those, but I think it's a matter of fact that a lot of people, I feel, are kind of, they're either intensely working online, or then they're in this void of home life, like, well, I don't know what to do now. I don't know. And we've lost the, if you haven't been used to working virtually, and I've been doing it for years, but if you've lost it, if you've not experienced it beforehand, you lose the structure of a typical working day inside your office, and you kind of have to emulate that somewhere at home. And I love the aspect of, well, don't just make it all work. Let's have that kind of social time as well.
Sure, sure. Okay, I have one from Kaushik. Hi, Peter. What tips do you have for introducing fun in remote and virtual teams? I think you kind of covered that.
Yeah, do that. I mean, there's another one I heard of. They basically the manager had organised for a pizza delivery to all of their team members wherever they were. And once the pizzas arrived, they got online. They had it was visual. They kind of took it very relaxed, and the idea was, well, come online, enjoy your pizza, but fancy dress. I mean, maybe that's a little too far out there, but yeah. So it's brilliant. I mean, I saw a picture of it. It's all these people wearing chicken heads and other fancy dress outfits with silly wigs, etc., enjoying pizza. But my goodness me, was that a fun bonding activity?
Sure, sure. Okay, I have one from Vijay Lakshmi, who says, oops, sorry, screen just moved. Hello, Peter. As you rightly mentioned, smile is contagious. Humor can help to influence people, but difficult in diverse teams. Humor is language specific. When do you suggest not to use humor? Sense of timing is important.
Yeah, no, you're right. Now you got to judge every situation. What is appropriate, what is right at this point in time. What I should be using humor. And it's almost, I think, with humor, you've got to almost do a little mini risk assessment. Like, well, if this humor doesn't work, what are the consequences? So, going in there with a big joke at the start of a presentation is one of the most dangerous things you can do, because you don't know what the audience is like at this point in time. So just tone it down, take it easy, and reflect on the situation.
Cool.
And I think that's it really. Just reflect and make it appropriate. But think about cultures. Humor is different to everybody else.
Thank you. I've got 4 questions. I think will be good for time here. Next one's from Shanta Kumar. I know a head who is fun to work, but his team, oops, chat window keeps moving. Sorry. I know a head who is fun to work with, but his team is not as efficient as expected because they take him for granted on everything. What is the solution? Is this because he is always having fun or humor and serious in communicating the expectations of project? This is the other extreme.
That one broke up. If you could repeat, that'd be great. Sorry about that.
Yeah, sorry, I'll start again. I know a head who is fun to work with, but
Right.
his team is not as efficient as expected because they take him for granted on everything. What is the solution?
Yeah.
Is this because he is always having fun or humor and serious in communicating the expectations of the project?
Yeah, I think it's attitude. I mean, if fun shouldn't be like, well, let it go, doesn't matter what you do, etc. It'll all be great. Doesn't mean there isn't discipline or the right sort of governance in place. That's not what we're talking about. This is not replacing it. It's supplementing it. And I think you've got to have that kind of that right approach to it. And I think in that case, the team will respect you. And there are days that you expect the team to work flat out, and it's very serious. There's something you've got to overcome and deal with, etc. And there are other days when it can be a lot more relaxed, and you take both of it. But no, it can't just be, oh, doesn't matter. You can't be all fun.
Sure. Next one's from Ravi. Peter, thanks for sharing the concept of fun. Generally, when project is progressing reasonably well, adding fun would bring positive change. Whereas if the project is not quite okay, there's not serious push in the way to bring back project on track. Your views, please. Sorry, I didn't quite read that one properly.
Well, I think it's a bit like the story I told you about my project was going badly wrong. It was fun that actually just broke the ice and got us going. I have no problem with, taking some time out. And I've done this in many ways. Is that, sometimes it's like really difficult. Guys, you put a lot of effort in this week. We've still got a lot of challenges, but let's just stop it right now. Let's just stop and let's go off. Let's go for a drink. Let's go bowling. Whatever it may be, whatever's appropriate. And then let's kind of let's revisit this on Monday morning and see how we get on. It's kind of like sometimes you can just keep working too hard too much, and sometimes breaking out is a good thing to do.
Sure. 3 more questions, Peter.
Okay.
How do you next one's from Ilayaraja. How do you bring fun in senior management meetings?
Carefully.
Carefully.
It's kind of like what I talked about earlier on. Yeah, I mean, you don't suddenly turn up in a in a chicken costume and start cracking jokes on. Don't do that. That's going to go down badly. It really is. I think that the most gentle way of bringing fun into senior management meetings is to share some of the fun that you've had at lower level. Not at the expense of anybody, but look, this was kind of humorous this week. This happened this week, or, I kind of did some stuff. Use this kind of little exercise that's made a difference, or, we took some time out and had a pizza party, whatever it may be. Share it with the management, and then you can gauge their kind of their if you like their interest in it, and their what they think about it as where it's suitable, something they'd like to do. Do you know what? I'll tell you something. I run workshops for very senior people up to board level, and I am always amazed that when you give them a opportunity to have fun. And I've run the Project from Hell for a board in Australia, a banking organization, their board members, and it was one of the best I've ever run because they were given the opportunity to have fun, and they spend so much of their life being serious that they just totally enjoyed themselves.
Absolutely. Okay, 2 more. Next one's from Ramesh. Peter, very nice session. In the present times, you have to work with teams of all age groups. How do you handle the current millennials?
You know what? I don't. And there's a lot of talk about the current millennials. I don't think you have to handle the current millennials. They're just part of the workforce, and you engage them. But I think you have to be open to their ideas and their ways of working as well, and learn a lot. I think it's just we're all in this together. We're all working, and actually, I think what's going on right now will balance out that a great deal. I think there are things we can learn from them. There are things they will learn from us, and you just bring it all together. But at the heart of this, I still think that humor, fun, is just as part of human nature, and everybody will be part of it.
Sure. Right. The next one's from Rubanathan. He says, I was always fired by my immediate boss while my client appreciates. How do you handle? This is an interesting one. So, so the boss doesn't appreciate humor, but the client appreciates humor.
Okay, well, presumably the client's paying the bills, so the client wins.
The client, the sponsor. That's the question, though. Yeah,
this is the point. I mean, I've worked in, most of my life I've worked in client-facing projects, and it's always been the number one is the priority of, is the client happy?
Right.
Is the client going to give you great, customer satisfaction scores? Are they going to do for repeat business? And actually, if that is, if you're answering yes to those questions, then well, business, take it seriously. Come on, in the sense of this is what they want. So absolutely. But it's a good point for client-facing projects. Again, it's just like internal management, internal stakeholders. You've got to be very careful. You don't go in guns a-blazing, jokes flying everywhere on day one. You gauge it and you slowly introduce humor. You kind of test it and take it from there.
Great. Lots of positive comments on the chat window. Peter, you can see them as well. And a lot of them have appreciated this session and the way it has been done by you. Just quick questions, quick couple of them, and then we'll wrap this up. The next one's from Saravanan, who says, humor is one of the risk, in brackets, opportunity stroke threat in project. How do you address this?
I mean, the answer is everything we talked about, really. It's, you don't go flying in with, crazy jokes and crazy behavior straight away. You consider it, you look at the situation. If I'm walking into a team meeting, and we have a bit of fun, and it be a joke or whatever it is, and then I walk into talking to my sponsor, am I going to use the same joke straight away? Of course not. I mean, depends on my relationship with my sponsor. If I go into a steering meeting, am I going to kick it off with the same thing? No, of course I'm not. It's a matter of the right and appropriate fun for the right situation, but gradually expanding that kind of attitude to having enjoyment whilst you're working at every opportunity.
Okay, the last one I promise, from Sundaresan, who says, often when we make fun of this situation, at times it is taken personally by others and results in damaging relationships. How do we be cautious in having fun and still maintain healthy working relationships?
Yeah, and it's that, isn't it? It's understanding people. Understand. There's a story, actually it's in the Lazy Project Manager, and it's where we did a lot of team activities on the project I was running, and they were great and they really enjoyed it. And then we gradually realized that one of our team members was becoming increasingly miserable every time we had one of our great team activities, and it's because they didn't like the fact this was extending their time away from home. For them, it was very important. The project was requiring them to travel a lot and work hard, and that was fantastic. But they had a young family, etc., and so they actually began to resent the team activities that everybody else enjoyed. And so we created a different version of that. We created something that was much, we had an event that was much nearer their home. We had events that were virtual as well. You've got to be conscious to what people actually want, and you can't force fun on them. And I think that's probably a great place to kind of wrap it up. Fun is fantastic. Fun, I think, is very powerful. But you can't force fun on people, and everybody's view of fun is going to be very different. So take that into account.
Great, thank you. Oops, sorry, I just pasted your LinkedIn rather than the feedback form. Sorry, my apologies. 1 second, let me just paste it. Right, I think we're nearly there, Peter. I would like to thank you for doing this presentation in such a short notice. So, and firstly, it's been a wonderful session. I think everybody's given fantastic feedback. So really, thank you for this session. I just wanted to share my screen. Generally, as practice, we felicitate the presenter with a memento. Because this is a virtual presentation, I'm going to try and share this. But I will send this over to you, Peter, by email.
Okay.
Just bear with me. I can just get this technology right. Okay, so I'll share my screen. Okay, that's interesting. Did I make someone else the presenter? Okay, am I sharing my screen?
No, I can't see your screen. Well,
Yeah.
I can see the.
Okay,
all the members is what I can see.
Okay, there we are. If you can all see my screen.
Yes.
Peter, there we are. So thank you.
Thank you.
I will send this over to you just after this meeting. So before we close, sorry, Peter.
No, I was going to say, you should, where's the smiley face? There should be the smiley face.
I will embellish this with all
excellent. Excellent.
This is just definitely. Thank you so much for this entertaining session. It's been wonderful. Once again, a big thank you from the PMI chapter. I'll let you go. Thank you so much, Peter. And
all right.
Have a
And one day, people stay safe, and I hope one day to actually do a face-to-face session with you guys. It'd be great.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we'll stay in touch. I will get some feedback from the members, and I'll share that with you too. And I will forward the ebook to all our members who attended this session. And if you're okay with it, I'll share it with the other chapter members who haven't been online today.
Yeah, of course. Anybody, absolutely anybody. That's fantastic. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
All the best. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye. Bye. Everyone else on the meeting, if you haven't already filled out the feedback form, please do that so we can process your PDUs. But thanks everyone for attending this webinar. I hope you found it See you all. Bye.
Okay.
Hey Vijay, as a feedback link, I think you shared the LinkedIn profile.